Dear friends, Prophet Elijah. Last Sunday we meditated on the transfiguration of the blessed Lord, and there appeared Moses and Elijah. Now, Prophet Elijah is a very close person to the Carmelites. Now, it is because of Prophet Elijah we get our name, and that is Carmelites. Comes from the Mount Carmel in the Holy Land. Now, let us analyze this great prophet, how he was filled with the Holy Spirit. And he was a man of courage. It was during Prophet Elijah's time, there was so-called the worship of Baal against the living God. And it is said that during this great king Ahab and Jezebel, there were more than 450 prophets of Baal, and they had erected many temples. And now Prophet Elijah was against them. But then there was also another controversy going on. Queen Jezebel was systematically eliminating so-called the true prophets of the living God. And that's why there was a holy man, Obadiah, who hid many of the holy prophets of the living God in some secret places and in some caves. And one day, when Prophet Elijah met King Ahab, Ahab said, "You are a troublemaker in my kingdom. You are against us." To that, Prophet Elijah said, "Well, let us have a test. Who is the real God? So let us gather on Mount Carmel. You offer sacrifice to your God, and I will offer sacrifice to my God. Whoever accepts the sacrifice, he will be the true God." And therefore all those people, including the Israelites and the prophets of Baal, gathered on Mount Carmel, and Prophet Elijah organized this great sacrifice. First, the chance was given to the prophets of Baal. They cut a bull, placed it on the altar, and he asked them to pray to their God. Until noon, there wasn't any reply or response from God. And tauntingly, Prophet Elijah said, "Most probably, your God has gone on a journey, or maybe he is sleeping. You have to wake him up." But then, the prophets of Baal, what did they do? They injured themselves with the knives in order that their God may respond to them. No reply. Then Prophet Elijah called all the people of Israel around him and erected an altar, cut the bull of sacrifice, and then he asked the people to pour water on it until the altar was completely drenched with water. And he prayed to the living God, and there came fire from above, consuming not only the sacrificial bull, but the entire altar. And at that moment, Prophet Elijah goes forward and kills practically all the prophets of Baal. And there, Queen Jezebel sends him a message. "As you have killed my prophets, tomorrow I will kill you and give your body to the dogs." And with that fear, Prophet Elijah runs from Mount Carmel to Mount Horeb. And that is the episode we are meditating today. And there he was hiding in a cave. And God asked Elijah, "Elijah, what are you doing here?" And Elijah replied, "Zelo zelatus sum pro domino Deus exercitum." That is, I am filled with zeal for the living God. And God said, "Filled with the zeal for the living God in the cave? Get out of the cave. Get out of the cave. You cannot be filled with zeal for the living God in the cave, hiding yourself." And there he witnesses the powerful theophany, or rather the natural events. There was the strong wind splitting the stones, God wasn't there. There was the earthquake, God wasn't there. There was a fire, God wasn't there. And then there was the sheer sound of silence. Note the words, dear friends. Sheer sound of silence. What do you understand by this? Can silence produce sound? Sound of silence. That is where Elijah found God. He encountered God. As he was at the entrance of the cave, he wrapped his mantle around his head because he was terrified because of the presence of God in that sheer sound of silence. Let us come to the specifics today and apply this particular episode of Elijah to our own life. Dear friends, we know all over the world there are so many things happening. News of war looming, wildfires, earthquake, flooding, war, violence, displacement of millions of people. Now we have natural questions. Where is God? Why God should allow all that? Now there was such a lot of wildfires, forest fires in BC. We might ask a question, why God allowed this kind of devastating fires where so many people are displaced and lost their houses? Millions in the Middle East suffering, they have lost their homes, and why God allows that? If there is a flooding, why God allows that? Why there is a war, violence? Dear friends, where can we get an answer? In all these things we may not get an answer, but we get an answer when we enter into the cave of our heart. When we listen to the sheer sound of silence. And where can we find that silence? Not in the world outside. We can find that silence in the depth of our heart. Dear friends, many things can be answered when we are capable of connecting ourselves with God in silence. Otherwise we do not. And therefore, in order that we may be connected with God, we should keep fire away, wind away, and earthquake away. How can we do that? Now let us come to our own practical daily life. Can we live a day without watching television? Ask a question to yourself. Can you live a day without using your smartphone or iPad or your internet or computer? Can you live a day without being with the people in the crowd, in the celebrations, in the sound and buzz of the world? A simple question to ourselves. You know, when we are capable of entering into that silence, we are energized, empowered, enriched. Now I invite you today to do an exercise in the coming weeks. Now we are practically in the last part of summer. This is a good exercise, dear friends. I do it sometimes. No television, no smartphone, no iPad, no computer, no noise, no celebration, nothing. Go to the seawall, touch the stones, touch the sand, touch the water, touch some trees, touch some leaves, look at the nature, look at those birds. Silence will enter into you. You will experience that energizing power. Of course, you may say, oh, Father Rudolf does not have any work, he can do that. We are so busy. Early in the morning, noon, evening, morning, noon, evening. We are so busy, we do not have time for that. One day or the other, you will get time when we are totally devastated. Dear friends, we human beings are not just flesh, bone and blood. We human beings are spiritual beings, and we require that spirit to connect with the spirit. And how can we do that? Only when we give up thunder, lightning, earthquake, fire and a powerful wind. All these things are that we are into in this modern world. We are distracted. After the morning mass, a family had come from California, and they met me, 3 of them, and they said, "Father, we really thank you, because we came here to Vancouver to spend some time. We were so distracted what is happening in the United States." They actually came to relax here. But then they are so distracted, filled with thoughts. "Father, give me some kind of advice. How can I get rid of my thoughts?" And I said, "Enter into the cave of your heart." Now you came from the United States to Vancouver, what for? Relaxing? And now you are thinking about the United States, what is happening there, being in Vancouver. Your minds are completely filled with thoughts and thoughts and thoughts and distractions and tensions and problems. That is what Elijah did. He ran away from that destructive mountain where he had that terrible experience. He goes to Mount Horeb, hides himself in that cave, and he listens to the sheer sound of silence. Dear friends, when we enter into silence, you can practice this in your own daily life. As I told you last Sunday, take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour without doing anything. Just be motionless in silence in a place of meditation and prayer. You will see when you get out of that experience, you are totally energized. Now, coming to the gospel passage here, we find Jesus also gives us a beautiful example of prayer. He dismissed the crowd. He made the disciples enter into the boat to cross over to the other side of the sea. And what did he do? He climbed the mountain to pray. He wanted to be alone with the Father. He could have had plenty of opportunities to have that distraction and popularity, but he took time away from the crowd to be alone with the Father. But this is also symbolic. In the early church, the boat signified the small community of Christians. Their situation was very vulnerable, insecure. There were winds against them, the waves battering against them, the waves of Roman Empire, the Jewish people, and they were not well accepted in that community. So they were in a small boat in that troubled water. And that is why it was symbolic also, Jesus going up the mountain, Jesus ascending up to the Father. That is what we believe. But then he had promised that he would always come back to be with the disciples. And when they were in the middle of the sea, troubled, Jesus comes walking on water. Now just imagine, who can walk on water? Have you tried to walk on water? Have you tried to walk on water? We human beings cannot walk on water. Jesus can. And that's why he walked on water. The disciples misunderstood and cried, "It's a ghost." And Jesus said, "No, no, no. I am he. Do not be afraid." And at that moment, just imagine, Peter had the courage, "Lord, if it is you, make me come towards you walking on water." And actually, Peter, being a human being, was capable of walking on water. That is why Peter was the leader of the apostles, the first pope. He was also walking on troubled waters. But then what happened? When he watched the winds, the mighty waves, he started sinking. And immediately Jesus held him and saved him. Dear friends, in our daily lives, we need to always keep in mind that our attention should be focused on the person of Jesus. And that can be done through prayer and spending time in silence. You know, you keep on working, dear friends, it is never ending. Now sometimes I question myself, you keep on working in the parish 365 days, it is never ending. Phone calls, you have to visit the people, confessions, spiritual direction, masses, it is never ending. But then I have to take time away from the parish. You have to take time away from your own work. You have to go away to a place of silence. Why? To energize yourself. Dear friends, sooner or later I tell you, if we do not give time for ourselves, our spirit and body will require of us forcefully that time of silence. This is I have noticed among so many people, so busy, no time at all. But then once they were struck down by a kind of illness and sickness, they were on the bed. When asking questions, now are you busy? What to do, Father? Now I am on the bed. I am forced to be on the bed. Now before that, we can definitely take steps where we can be healthier, stronger, energized and powerful. How it can happen? Not only with good food, nutritious food, with physical exercise, with sleep and entertainment, but I tell you, if you can take time to be silent, having that intention of listening to the sheer sound of silence where God will speak to us, we will be victorious and we will be powerful in everything that we do. Dear friends, let us ask the Lord today in a very special way to give us the grace and also the intention and desire from time to time to leave this hectic world of work, to be silent, where we can encounter the powerful, mighty God who can save us and energize us. Kindly rise, we profess our faith.